with another Together We Move live session. Ashley, how are you?
I'm good, Nate. How are you?
Doing well. Another week. Working out in my house. This is my living room / my gym. So, getting used to that. How's the week been going for you, Ashley?
It's been good. This has definitely been, things are getting real here for sure. Definitely doing a lot of out and backs on the same road, getting to know every little nook and cranny of my neighborhood. So, yep.
Right, just having fun with that. Just making sure that you can hear us all sure you can hear us well and all that fun stuff. If there's any other issues there, we can kind of get that going in the comments. So for those of you guys who are new to this whole Together We Move thing, you're not really sure what it is, Ashley, what are we doing here?
Good question. So if you're just coming here for the first time, we are working together on a training program called Together We Move. It's a daily training program designed for this very strange time that we're in. So it is focused on day-to-day motivation. And that includes yoga and mindfulness and running and strength training and all of these things to help us to be motivated during this time and to really come together as a virtual community. And we are housing that training on fleetfeet.com/Together We Move and in the Run Experience app.
Totally, guys. We are really excited to be working with Fleet Feet and to just bring all of our communities together. We know that we're all stuck at home. We've all had races pulled out from under us, or we're dealing with kids. I've been on so many calls with moms and dads who are hiding in a closet while their 5-year-olds are terrorizing them outside, pounding on the door. So everyone's trying to find those little moments of calm and escape and regularity. And I know that for me personally, I've been leaning into my own workout routine as a way to just kind of bookend my day, because we don't have the commute anymore. We don't necessarily have the office anymore. So we wanted to share that with you guys. We wanted to give you, daily training. Actually, did you want to share sort of how the schedule is laid out?
Yeah, and like Nate said, we're posting a new video every single day. So on Mondays, we have a yoga or recovery focused video. Tuesdays, we have something that's drill focused, so really to help you with the mechanics of your run. Wednesdays are strength or HIIT day, so some high energy cardio, some fun stuff often on Wednesdays. Thursday, we're back to a running workout that incorporates some speed, whether that's a tempo or a fartlek or a hill workout. And Fridays, we are focusing on core and mobility. Saturdays is more of a mindful run day. So that's a really good opportunity to be really tuning in and focusing on some meditation, mindfulness, really taking advantage of, if you have to run the same loop over and over, really working with that for yourself. And then Sundays are really fun. It's a bonus day where you may find games or just some really innovative ways to look at training during these times. So something different every Sunday.
Exactly. We're trying to work with you guys in your schedule, knowing, and also just the parameters. We know that some of you might have more freedom to run outside. I think both Ashley and I live more in the countryside, so we have a little bit more room to roam. But for some of you who are in the city or elsewhere, you can't necessarily go outside. We just want to give you good options. But what's nice is that if you do follow this program, there's going to be some structure to it Monday through Sunday. You're always going to get something different, and it's going to, complement the other things you're doing. So it really is a full-on training program that you guys can do.
Yeah, and that flexibility, just structure with flexibility and scalability. So like Nate said, if we have a hill workout and you don't have hills, you can use your stairs. You can run up and down your driveway or around your neighborhood and just work with what you have to make this work for you. And then every Friday, we have YouTube live sessions like this one, where we answer your training questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted those early. We have some great questions we're going to get to. And then we also have special guests, which we will get to later tonight. Yeah. Our first guest is next week.
Yeah. And selfishly, we're doing these just so that I can get some more social time with people, so I'm just not staring at my computer filming things all the time. Oh my gosh. But it's so fun to see how many of you guys are tuning in right now. Right now we have almost 400 of you guys, which is so cool. Yeah, give some thumbs up for that. We got a nice big crew. The Run Experience crew, I see some of you guys in there who used to tune into our live shows all the time. It's so nice to see your faces, if only in the comments. And then all the Fleet Feet community, like, welcome to the Run Experience channel. We are so psyched to have you guys here. Just in the YouTube world, because we're talking about this, Fleet Feet is putting all their videos and workouts on the Together We Move page, but they're also putting out a lot of great content on the Fleet Feet YouTube channel, so definitely take a moment to check that channel out and subscribe over there, and you're just going to get some great, just additional, running content that, you can expect from both of us. We got a bunch of questions.
Should we dive into the questions now?
Maybe we should, right? I think we should start to dive in. So what we did, guys, and you can post questions in the comments as well. We'll try to get to those. But Fleet Feet, you guys as well as us, we kind of posted, asking you kind of like what type of running advice you're looking for in these crazy times. And we got some great questions come in. Ashley, do you want to read one of the first ones?
All right. So the first question we have on here is, how much should I keep running now that my marathon has been postponed for 5 months?
Yeah, and we both kind of thought about this, and for me, the thing that I picked up on this question was the powerful word should. Sometimes when we're runners and we're on a plan, we're like, man, this plan is telling me what to do, and it's true, but we also have to recognize that, like, we have a choice. This might seem like a tangent, and Ashley, I promise not too many tangents, but I had an English teacher my junior year who gave us a paper assignment. We were all grumbling about it, and he's like, hey, you guys all have a choice not to do this. Like, you could choose to fail. And we're like, that's not a choice. Like, that stinks. But, like, the idea in this context, like, we can choose to run or not run, and there isn't necessarily a should in this context. So maybe you're not in a marathon program. The purpose of the runs shift a little bit and are a little bit different. But maybe you still want to find some sort of routine, some sort of daily anchor that you can, slot in.
Yeah, I think calling out that should is really powerful, because it is sort of easy to, when we use that word should, kind of guilt ourselves into doing something. But even that shift of noticing that, especially during this time, like, exercise is so important for our mental health. And if you were gearing up for a marathon, you were probably in, like, your peak fitness for that race. So allowing yourself that time to back off and just say, okay, I'm going to try some other stuff might be the thing that your mind and body needs. So focusing on some of the other parts of the training could be really beneficial for you too. So then when you're ready in a few months or a couple months, when you're starting to ramp up your training again, you'll feel really good and ready to go. And we definitely have some workouts that would fit into that, something different in this training plan.
Totally. And it will give you that, nice little purpose. I definitely like that point of just, when we're following a race and we have a race on a certain date, there's a degree of external stress that has been brought upon us because we have to be ready by this date. And when a lot of plans are written, it's sort of, they're like reverse engineered. It's like, well, we need you to be marathon fit by May 3rd. So that means by April 20th, you should be at this level, and April 10th, you should be at this level. And so we're training from a backwards viewpoint, but we also have to take where we are and train forwards. And what's nice is that when we're not in a race situation, we don't have that external stress forcing us to maybe go faster in a program than our body really wants us to. Because we've all been at that place where it's like, my body's not really feeling it, but the plan says I need to run 12 miles tomorrow or do this hard thing tomorrow. Should I rest? Should I not? And what's the opportunity presented to all of us right now is just the ability to be more inwardly focused.
Yeah.
Should we go to the next question?
Yes.
Okay. So I know, because we could keep going on each of these single ones. So I think these Instagram handle names. Should we give them little shout outs?
Yeah. So, that first one was from
I'll let you
Ezino?
try. I'll let you try that one. Ezinno. This next one is probably not any easier. It's all me. ASAP Alden. I don't know if it's like ASAP Alden, something. Anyway.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah, great question. This is actually kind of a fun one, and I'm really glad you answered it because I have no clue. How many laps will I have to run in my room that is 16 feet in width to run a marathon?
So, assuming that your room is square and that you have no furniture and that you can run on the edge all the way around of the room, not realistic, we know, you would need to run 2,161.5 laps. But you should probably run a few hundred extra because you probably have furniture, so that's not exact. But someone should check that math for sure and see if I'm right there. Great question. If you do it, please film it for us and send it. We would love to see that.
And I would want to know what your carpet looks like after that. Would you just like wear it down, all the way in the corner? And the other question is like, do you change direction? Or do you like always go the same way?
Changing direction would be very beneficial. That might be good to balance out your body.
I feel like it would. And then like, do you wear shoes or not? Like that'd be a really far thing to go barefoot. You have shoes, and you have shoes in the house. That's whole rule. There's a lot of logistics with this one. Oh my goodness.
Keep us posted. All right.
I thought that was a fun one.
Next question.
I'm ready.
Brad
move.
What are some good speed and strength drills to work on to get faster for fall racing season? Nate.
So I'm somewhat assuming if you're looking at fall racing season, like in my brain, that triggers an athlete who's like thinking about like cross country versus say training for a marathon or something like that. I'd say, personally, the way I think about things is that a lot of coaches and runners think about things is when we get closer to our event, the more we want our training to specifically mirror the demands of the event. So if I'm training for a fall marathon, I might be doing more extended marathon pace efforts and workouts that complement my ability to sustain that pace. And that means that when I'm further away from my marathon, I want to do training that's a little bit more general, that's just going to hit the different energy systems that I need to hit to be a more balanced athlete. So for a lot of marathoners, for example, if you're doing a lot of longer, slower runs and those kind of like grindier tempo runs, like this far away might be a really great chance to work on efforts of 2 minutes or less, tapping into your mile effort or your 3K or your 5K. And that would give you a nice balance. So you're working on a little sharper speed now so that when you transition to your marathon training later, you've got that speed foundation. If, on the other hand, in your fall season, you are doing your 5K and 10K, maybe at this time it's either a little bit less structured speed work or you're doing some complementary stuff that might be that longer stuff. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then even, before you go out for your run, thinking about incorporating some of those standard plyo drills like high knees, butt kicks, maybe some skipping jumps, things to work on your cadence might be really beneficial for you too. And even looking at some more explosive drills like that could work on glute strength, like things like jump squats and jumping lunges and things like that, just to incorporate before you go out.
Yeah, I think that's good, especially now. And we got some more body weight questions later that we'll dive into a little bit more about like what we should do as runners from a strength training perspective for sure. Liz says suicide drills in the living room. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So, here we go. This is a good username right here. Harley Girl 5663. Advice for the best leg workout for building muscle and strength without weights and no gym.
What do you think?
I have my thoughts there. I wasn't sure if you had messed around with that a little bit.
Well, I love squats, so squats and push-ups and burpees are like my favorite just simple all around.
Simple
thing.
all around. So when you do squats right now, like, or if you've been doing any this week, are you doing them just like kind of unweighted, just sort of like air squats, and like how many do you do?
It depends. I honestly really like squat jumps the best, just adding the explosive bit to them. And I do most everything body weight. So I'll just do like I'll work them into a HIIT workout, for example, and just do maybe it's sets of 10, maybe it's sets of 20, but by the end I've done, it could be 50 to 100 something squats.
Yeah, and especially if you are doing that jump in there, that definitely hits that aerobic piece as well. Yeah, you're feeling it. 10 to 20 jump squats is good. And you could actually play with the height of the jump squat. Like you could do a more of a higher volume jump squat where you're trying to do 20, where it's like your feet are just kind of barely coming off the ground. Or you could do something that's more plyometric. And when we get into the more plyometric movements, we're purposely doing less volume and we're being more explosive. So it's like we want to maybe do 3 jump squats or 5, but you're trying to like get height. Almost think about like what's a max height you could jump up off the ground. And then you give yourself a longer rest. So that's like a different stimulus for those pieces. One of the things that I love, especially now, is exploring the wonderful world of gymnastics, getting into different challenging bodyweight movements. I know you have a gymnastics background, but that's a great way to challenge yourself. I have been spending more time doing, because I can't do any shoulder presses. I don't really have, I have a backpack that I could press over my head, of doing handstand holds against my door. And Ashley, have you ever done wall walks before?
Yes, those are good.
Wall walks. Oh, we got to put those in a Together We Move workout. I'm gonna note this in.
Make a note of that.
But for those of you guys who don't know what it is, you basically start in a plank with your feet against the wall. Clear this with your spouse or significant other if you're home, so you don't get dirty feet up on the wall. You may want to wear socks or something. But you basically just walk your feet up the wall and you walk your hands in until your headstand and your face or your nose is touching the wall, and then you walk out. It's a good one.
That's a good one, sure.
And then single leg squats and pistol squats. Like I think a lot of us have seen like a single leg quarter squat, and it's just a nice way to just touch on a little balance and stability and muscle engagement. But then you can start to challenge yourself by range of motion. So just by going into deeper range, all of a sudden your one leg is having to lift your entire body weight. So basically it's like, how do you turn your body into a weight?
Yeah, that's a great one.
How about this? How do you stay, and this is from Will McGee 07, and maybe we'll do this question here, and then we'll take some questions from the YouTube comments as those guys are spitting in. Will McGee, how do you stay motivated after an injury?
Yeah. If you're currently injured or you're struggling with motivation because you're in the injury right now, I would encourage you to focus on what you can do. So whether that's going for a walk, whether that's trying some other types of movement like yoga or something really gentle, focus on those things and see what you can do with that. Just anything to keep, like not be dwelling on that injury that you have right now. And also just like to keep yourself mobile and active through your injury. But if you're coming back to running after your injury and you're feeling really sluggish and you're just struggling with that, just start small, alternate between walking and running. You don't have to set this big audacious goal right now. It could simply just be to be active or to try something different. So really just work with yourself on what your goals are, and just being gentle right now with getting back to it, because this also is a hard time to find motivation, maybe because everything is so different around you. You can't go to the gym, you can't go train with your friends. So really taking all those things into account when you make your decision would be when you're thinking about motivation.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I know I've dealt with my share of injuries in the past. I know actually you have as well. I think the worst thing is feeling powerless in that you have to, wait. I just spoke with someone. I was doing a call with the Spartan community on Tuesday, and someone had dealt with an Achilles injury, and they had just been icing their Achilles, and they also had a knee thing, so they were icing their knee. They said they've been doing it for like the last couple weeks and just sort of like waiting. And it's no fun. I always give the analogy of being the kid stuck inside the classroom while you see all your friends playing outside at recess. Like, that's just not a fun feeling to be left out. So, to second Ashley's point, it's like, well, what are the things you can do? And I always tease my runners, but it's like, look, unless you got hit by a taxi cab, like, injuries don't come out of nowhere. Like, let's be honest, like, most running injuries are in the overuse category. And rather than just say, oh man, I had bad luck, this running injury just happened to me, usually what happens is you are pushing your running in a way that pushed you to your edge, and it exposed something. It exposed some mechanical fault that you have, or something that is weak and imbalanced. Yes, I use the word fault. I got them too, right? So I'm not throwing shade, right? We all have this stuff. But the opportunity with the injuries to be like, hey, why did I break down? Not just say, oh my God, that randomly happened to me, this sucks, right? And then from there, like, we can use this time to build ourselves back up. And if we can do it right, we can actually come out of this thing stronger than we came in. And if you're that person, look, we've got great options, even in the Together We Move program right now, that are strength and mobility based, that you can do right now. If you can't run, but you can hike, do that. If you can't hike, but you can get on an exercise bike, do that, right? Like, how proactive we can be and like own it, right? And then together we can get you out.
And if you really can't do much at all, and you can just get outside on your front porch to get some fresh air and be in the sun, like, that is even a really great place to start.
Yeah, I love that. So should
my
we?
My mom always says that's like her solution for everything. If you're feeling bad, if something's wrong, just go sit in the sun. You'll feel better.
It kind of works, It kind of works.
But wear sunscreen.
Yeah. I moved to California from the Boston area like 13 years ago. And just the fact that like you can have sunshine in January out here and like a 60 or 70 grade and it feels warm, that was a game changer for me. I was like, I didn't even know how much I was missing the sun during times of year when it wasn't there. And I'm like, man, I have the sun year round here. Like, this changes everything.
Yeah.
Should we pull a question from the YouTube comments?
Yeah. One more thing I just want to add to this this injury question. When you're thinking about doing other things and this whole idea of, there's a weakness and we need to work on that. Whatever you do during this time where you're developing that strength, you're creating a balance in your body, that's going to be so beneficial when you come back to running, and you can keep incorporating that into your training. So just keep that in mind. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do something different now. You have the opportunity to create a total change in how you approach your training that's really going to help you on the other end. So
yeah, I could not agree more with that one for sure. There's so many great comments and questions streaming in. I saw do you see anyone that pop out to you?
Yeah, if you just saw one, yeah, go ahead.
I have to scroll up. I saw this one a little bit ago. It was questions about, I think it was from Mario M, and it was asking how do you train for an event with a lot of vert when you basically live in an area that doesn't have a lot of hills or anything? That's always a tricky one. Any advice on training for vert at home without having steps or hills in my yard? Should we have picked a question that we know how to answer?
I mean, it's always good to train on terrain like you're going to race, but that's not always an option. And just like running hills helps with speed, running speed helps with hills, and like increasing your glute strength, working on strength, explosive strength, and working on speed is going to help you get up the hills the stronger you are.
100%. I think sometimes we will we'll like separate our strength sessions from our running sessions. We'll say, okay, I'm just going to run today, and then another day I'm going to do my squats and lunges. But this would be a nice area that you could combine the sets, and especially if you're doing limited runs, you could alternate either a timed or distance interval for short, and then you can alternate that with a set of squats or lunges or burpees or whatever, and then you just go back and forth, and all of a sudden, you know, if you're doing enough strength and putting enough muscular load on your body, you could very quickly parachute yourself into that, you know, deep fatigued feeling of being at the end of a race or going up a steep hill. So that would be a nice way to tackle that. You also get all the added benefits of strength, stability, muscular engagement, mobility work that you know, we don't always get just from running alone.
Yeah. Yep. There was another question here I just saw about, I've seen a few of these working on learning to breathe more efficiently while running and working on lung capacity. So,
ooh, I like that one.
Thoughts there, Nate?
Well, you have the, how would you, I mean, you've done some incredible things, I won't necessarily name specifically, at higher altitudes. And then also you have a great background, you know, teaching yoga. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I think when it comes to breathing, and I can go back to when I first started running, because I remember breathing being an issue. I was like, I don't know how to do this. And I would get side cramps a lot. And I started really just thinking about my cadence and my breath and matching that up and just counting like in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. And I just ran like that. And I counted my steps. I counted my in breaths and my out breaths with my steps. And eventually that became habit. And you'll notice when you run faster how that changes. Maybe you have more out breaths or more in breaths. And so really thinking about making that into a pattern almost. I think that that's really beneficial is one way.
I love that. You know, I remember being years ago, I was living in South Africa and I got to run the Two Oceans Marathon, which was an ultra marathon that I signed up for by mistake because it was called the Two Oceans Marathon. I didn't know I signed up for this 35-mile race. But I'm at mile 27 and I'm going up this hill and I'm just like, I'm 20 years old at the time. I'm just imploding on the inside. And I didn't even know that I was breathing super raggedly. And someone that I was trying to run with, I was like on her shoulder. She just looked at me and she's like, your breathing is really ragged right now. And that little cue just like got me out of it. And just by focusing and returning to my breath in this terrible, hopeless position that I felt at the time, it really changed things for me. So I love that. Actually, have you ever swam?
I'm not a very good swimmer.
Because I spent a lot of times, as you know, long story long, I was originally a runner that turned into a triathlete because I was getting injured a lot as a runner, right? So I started cross-train and then I just sort of fell into a new sport. But when I started to like hang out more with swimmers and do like master swim workouts, they would do, it's very clear in swimming that you have to tie your breathing with your movement. Yeah. You have to breathe during certain times of the stroke cycle. And then they would actually play with your breathing patterns. So sometimes if you're sprinting, you might not breathe at all if it's for a 25 or 50. If you're doing higher aerobic pieces, almost like running faster, you might breathe more frequently. But if you're doing those slower runs, it's like, hey, how many strokes could I take while I'm just doing this long, slow exhale before I breathe again? And that just sort of, you know, melted into my other endurance practice. So all of a sudden, I started thinking about connecting my running with breath, but from swimming, which was kind of weird. I thought that was cool.
And actually, just before we go on to the next question, there is a workout that Nate put together for, I think it was earlier in this week. It is a run drill from Monday, right? Or Tuesday, from Tuesday, about breathing. So there are 3 or 4 breathing drills in that workout. So definitely check that one out. It has some really great stuff in there that could help you.
Greg mentions running with a metronome will help with breathing too, for sure. Where Alice says, I sing when I run.
That's great. Yes. Doesn't Beyonce do that?
Does she really?
There's a singer that does that too.
I mean, if B does it, I'm down.
Yeah. That's
I'm
the
into
solution,
that.
everyone. Just sing while you run.
Oh
You talk
man,
on
that
the phone.
I know, right? That's so
You
good.
talk on the phone so the person can understand you on speakerphone. That's a win for sure.
Oh, yeah, I like that one too. That's helpful for controlling your pace. Well, guys, just a quick little commercial break. We are halfway through. There is a really awesome giveaway that we're doing. We have for 2 lucky winners. We're giving away. Do you want to talk about the shoes that we're giving away?
Yeah, so we're giving away 2 pairs of Carhu Iconis. These shoes were designed from 3D foot scans from stores around the country, from customers all over, to create a shoe that is truly like designed for you. And they come in a regular width and a high volume width. They're some of my favorite shoes I've been wearing a lot lately, so definitely really exciting. And if you want to check out the shoe review that we have on them in the Run Experience app, it's you can find that in the Together We Move training or online on Fleet Feet's website. So
Yes, and what you're also going to get, you lucky ducks, is a annual membership to the Run Experience app. Some of you guys have been in there already, poking around and seeing our workouts. Some of you guys may have noticed that we've been adding extra little details to some of the run workouts in the Together We Move, whether it's a little bit more specific warm-up or mobility cool down. But as an annual member, you would get access to all of the race programs and training challenges that we offer, resources on nutrition, as well as a library of searchable workouts that are really handy right now when you are at home and you need just new and different workouts to do. So 2 of you guys are going to get annual membership, and this whole package together is worth $250 per person. So pretty sweet deal. The link is in the description. Check that out, and we will do the drawing live. Probably in about 20-ish minutes, plus or minus, something like that. But you got to be here to win. So we'll go there. Let's go back into more of our super fun questions here. This is a good one. How do I make the transition from treadmill running to road running? And this is from Emily Dixon.
Yep.
One of the things that I thought about, and I think we both kind of had some notes for this, was I think that, it's funny. I know treadmill runners that think it's incredibly boring and terrible to go run outside, and the opposite is true. I know a bunch of road runners, as soon as they get on the treadmill, they're like, oh my God, I'm just like staring at this one thing. So there is this funny instance of what we're comfortable with transition to something new that all of a sudden becomes different. What I like to do is especially if I'm staring at a 20 or 30 minutes and this just seems like too long, is to break it up into smaller chunks and to add a little structure. And you could start with a super easy warm-up, and that could be for 3 to 5 minutes. If you're doing any of our workouts in our programs, we'll have you stop and do some dynamic exercises like some squatting, some leg swings, and some lunges. And not only does that make your running feel better by opening up your hips and potentially your shoulders, but just getting those muscles firing and activated. And then you can kind of shift gears to the next piece of the workout, which might be a main set. This could be a run-walk interval where you're going to run for a minute or run a little faster for a minute, walk a little slower, jog for a minute. You could go back and forth. You could add a set of squats or push-ups or burpees in there if you wanted a little strength flavor to this, and then a little cool down at the end. So you could kind of make this longer chunk of running go by faster by just adding in little pieces. That's usually how I do it. What about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I think that's great. 2 other things to call out with that is just if you're used to running pretty flat on a treadmill, if you don't change the incline much, definitely would encourage you to try to run someplace flat to start. Also just because you're having more resistance when you're running on the road. So think about backing off the pace just a little bit. If you were running 9-minute miles on the treadmill, you may want to consider going more like 9:30 and just knowing that there is a little bit of a difference there. So not pushing yourself so hard that you're working a little bit more than you need to for your run. So staying within the same aerobic range might be a little slower. And this kind of takes us to our next question that Brendan Ongley had. what's your go-to workout?
Ooh. What's your go-to, Ashley?
So I love this one because especially right now, like I said, I have this where I live. I have this about 2.5 mile out and back that I've been doing over and over and over, and so I really like mixed pace workouts because it keeps my mind engaged. I have to think about what I'm doing. I have to remember what I'm doing, and I have to think about doing different paces. So whether it's like having several 4-minute half marathon intervals and then 30-second 5K or mile pace intervals. I have a little hill I can run up. It's maybe a 20-second hill. So really incorporating all these different paces into the run helps the miles click by. I've run more than I expected once I finish the run, and also just keeps my mind engaged. And then in terms of
I love those
strength
workouts.
stuff,
Yeah.
And I
and
love
then for
workouts.
totally. And then what do you have for strength? I know you like those.
Yeah, I love those. Just because, again, it's like keeping your mind engaged, keeping you going. So it's just, if you have 12 minutes and you want to knock something out and you can do a bunch of dynamic movements, that's definitely one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. When I think of like the context of my go-to workout, it's usually in a case of, let's say I'm traveling to races a lot and I'm just like a little out of sorts and off schedule, and it's like, what do I default to? Or if I'm like just kind of coming back from running after a little bit of a break. And I always like to start the beginning of the year, especially if I haven't done speed workout in a while, with some hill repeats. And what I love is that when I'm running up a hill, because the ground is meeting my feet, the impact isn't as bad. So I don't have that same pounding I get when I run on the flats or the downhill. And then my stride is a little shorter, so I don't get that same load on the hamstrings. And then what it also does is it kind of helps promote some of the things we care about with running, just like a little quicker turnover and just a lot of, rear wheel drive engagement, which is, hamstrings, glutes, the whole posterior. So I always find that those are a great way to kind of gas me, get me going, but I don't feel too physically beat up from after them. So it's like kind of a mental win as much of a physical. And then I can kind of do those wherever. If I find a neighborhood road that's a little, short hill, and I'll work with what I got. So if it's a 20-second or a 10-second hill, great. If it is a 30 or 60-second hill, perfect. I probably won't go much longer than 60 seconds. That can be quite long for a hill, especially if you're pushing it. And then for strength, I'm the same. In the gym right now, well, not in the gym, but I'll do just like a lot of single leg and single arm stuff. I know personally that kind of keeps me connected. So I'm doing a lot of lunges and single leg deadlifts. I'll do like single arm planks. A great way, guys, to add a little flavor to your push-up, if you guys are doing push-ups at home, or do single leg push-ups. Just lift one foot off the ground, and you'd be surprised how much harder those other 3 limbs have to work.
Or single arm push-ups. Very easy.
Easy. Actually, there's a totally fun way that you can do single arm push-ups, and you can make it accessible to anyone, right? So if we have both of our, I'm trying to put my hands in the camera so you can see. Most push-ups, we've got 50% engagement in both hands, right? Equal weight. I could shift to 60-40. 70-30, right? And I could just sort of shift this hand out where all of a sudden it doesn't have to be 100% on this one side. I could have this hand as a little assist. So if you guys want to do those single arm push-ups, it's not a bad idea, right? What do you do? Let me see here. Let's go back. Do you want to pull another question from the comments? I'm seeing we got so many people calling in here.
Yeah, let's do one more from the comments. Yeah, totally.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Zach and Kelly Films says, I'm working my way out of engaging my low back and everything. What are some good mid-run drills or cues to use to remember to engage my glutes and core while running?
While running.
What are some kind of like, it's funny, right? Because this is such an interesting thing. Like I struggled with this when I was a runner earlier on, especially when I was in and out of physical therapy, was like, okay, I was told was having issues because my hamstrings and my glutes weren't firing very well. So they would give me glute exercises to do and core strengthening stuff to do. So I would do some like core exercises. I would do like clamshell exercises and stuff with a Swiss ball. And then I would just go and run. And I think the thought was like, well, if I do these exercises here, they'll automatically engage over here.
Right.
And so is that something you've ever dealt with or struggled with? Like, how have you, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, going back to some of these things that we've talked about earlier, like, it is sometimes this incorporation of, it doesn't always have to be totally separate. So even thinking about like drills within our runs, and that's one of the things that we have in this training program on I think on Tuesdays, that we're incorporating those into our run so that we're learning it as part of that movement pattern, not necessarily separate. So I think that's super valuable.
One of the things that I like to think about, especially when people are dealing with low back pain, is this weird sort of like running paradox where we're told to have really good posture and like run upright, but we're also told that we need to like fall forward when we run, right, to lean and use gravity. So it's like, how do I run upright and fall forward at the same time? And it seems somewhat counterintuitive. But one of the things I found that's important is to understand that one of the big rules that our glutes do is that not only do they help stabilize the hips, but they really help with extension. So my job with my hips is to kind of push my hips forward a little bit this way. And when I push my hips forward, I get that bigger extension and drive out the back with my running. I want my stride to open up behind me, not necessarily in front of me. Mm-hmm. And when we get tired and we break down, we lose our ability to kind of push our hips forward, and all of a sudden we get that pelvic tilt that starts to happen, and then we're unstable, our leg doesn't swing out the back, our hip flexors start to have to work a lot harder. So if any of you guys have ever felt that like hip flexor cramp, you go up just like slight fraction of a hill and like towards the end of a marathon and you're like, oh God, I have to like turn around and walk backwards. This is you, right? This is that issue. So how can we think about, leading with our hips when we run, pushing our hips forward, trying to keep those suckers engaged a little bit? It's kind of a subtle cue, but I find it ties in nicely with the other strength movements we do, so that not only are you stable, but you're leading with that extension.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, what do you do when your performance drops?
Oh, yeah. So many factors to consider there.
Mm-hmm. I just give up.
Are you sleeping enough? Are you stressed? Probably. Yeah, I think you really kind of taking a step back and assessing your whole situation, because you may be doing too much, or it may just be a simple tweak in a workout that you're doing or when you're doing it. And our bodies get used to the things that we do over and over and over again. So it could even be as simple as just putting something new in that's different, like a different stimulus.
Yeah.
But
I like that.
More
I like
than
that.
Not, it's for training.
Yeah, I think that it could be, when a lot of us are on like a plan or program, you'll notice that there are weeks that are structured recovery weeks where there's a drop in volume and intensity. And the idea is that you're not actually getting stronger on the hard workouts. It's only when you give yourself the ability to recover and adapt that you actually benefit from the workout itself. So if you're just constantly hammering yourself into the ground and you're never letting yourself, not be hammered, you're not going to really go anywhere positively forward, which is hard because sometimes we have the social media running culture like, I'm tired, do it anyway, go through the pain, suffer. And it's like, yes, like there are times where we want you to push, but think about for every time that you push, you also need to not push. You need to be good at both ways.
This is this huge training issue, because training for so many people is that pushing part, but training is not just pushing. Training is when you're tired, sitting down or laying and resting, maybe doing nothing and letting all that work absorb into your body, because it's the combination of that training and rest, the work and the rest that equals training.
Yeah.
And then just like stress is stress, like whether it's physical because you're doing a workout, or mental because you're exhausted from all the things happening around you right now. That can affect.
It's going to impact. Yeah. And, this kind of circles back to one of our earlier questions, like, should I follow my plan? Like, the plan and the coach is there to serve you, not the other way around. And that's a really important thing. If you've hired a coach or training plan, you're the boss, right? They're supposed to do your bidding. And what I mean by that is it could be the most brilliantly, perfectly designed plan by the most brilliant running coach out there with the most thoughtful progressions, integrations of everything. But it sort of presumes this like Truman-like perfect world. You don't get sick. Your kid didn't keep you up all night. You're not traveling anywhere. You didn't stumble into that pothole. Like, just real life happens, right? And we all have to adapt. And a lot of times that might mean assessing, hey, my plan says this today or tomorrow. Am I ready for that or not? Maybe I swap a workout, or I take that extra rest day. So that internal sense is so big, especially for someone who feels like they're stuck in that overtraining. And a lot of times they're overtraining because there's this external pressure that they need to keep going.
Yeah. Yep.
I've been there.
So really quick, you all, I don't think that we're going to get through all the questions that were submitted, and that's okay. We're going to take all the questions that we got earlier that we've compiled here, and as many as we can, and we're going to put them together in a piece that we'll be publishing on the Together We Move page. So you can find some of these answers, fleetfeet.com/Together We Move, and we'll probably have them in the app too.
Yeah, I love that. What should we do? Should we do you want to try to do a few more? When should we do our little giveaway here?
Let's do one more. Let's try to do one more before our giveaway.
One more? All right, Ashley, you're the guest on this channel. Why don't you choose the final question we should tackle for today?
Oh my gosh.
Pressure.
Okay. Well, this is a really relevant one. Let's see. All right, yeah, this is a really relevant one. Someone asked us, with a lot of races being canceled, would you suggest signing up for races or holding off? And that's a really tough one, because it's really hard to say, like, when the race is scheduled, whether or not you should go ahead and sign up. I can say personally, like, I'm waiting through May to sign up for any in-person race. But that said, like, there are so many virtual challenges and races happening right now. So there are a lot of opportunities to do that. And so, if you're not ready to sign up for an in-person race, which I'd maybe suggest holding off on right now. I don't know. Nate, what do you think there?
I was very excited in the beginning of this year for this thing, which for a lot of you isn't really a big deal, which might be like a 5K. Like, I had signed up for the Boston Athletic Association 5K. I was going to be out for the Boston Marathon, and I had my goals of like things I wanted to do. I had some buddies that were kind of training me up for this, to run a certain time, and it got canceled or moved. But I tried to think about it. I was like, you know what? The race is just one day. Like, but the race was the excuse for all the training, and the training I did, that wasn't taken away, right? That's still there. So the way to answer this is, number one, sign up for an event if you feel like it's going to give you that little external boost and focus right now. Like, go for it. Like, why not? We don't know, positive or negative, what's going to happen necessarily in the future. But, second thing is, like, because we don't know, be okay with walking away from it, right? If the race doesn't happen, So for me, the mental, investment in a 5K is different from, say, an ultra marathon or an Ironman triathlon or some other stuff. So I might not choose something super long, all depending. But I think choosing something for those of you guys, if that gets you going out the door, like, yeah, I would do it. And just like there's also great virtual options. I think we're going to innovate a lot as a running industry right now and create different ways to engage the community and challenge the community. And previously, in-person races was like the thing. And now we may come out of this with a lot more interesting things there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well put, Nate.
Why don't we do the drawing?
All right.
Do you want to do it?
Let's do it.
So 2 lucky winners. You do have to be present to win. We have, let me refresh this page. Woo! We got 1,800 entries. My goodness. That is not nothing. So we're going to do our winners here. We're going to draw prizes. So guys, we're going to, make sure if you're a winner that you chime in the comments. We'll just wait for a moment or two to make sure you're in there. 2 winners here. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so our first winner is Stephanie Erickson from Chicago. Woo!
Oh, Stephanie Erickson!
Yeah, and our second winner. Let's keep an eye on the comments there. And our second winner is Cricket Tipton, visiting from Newton. I think that's Iowa. I gotta know my state initials. I'll cut and paste these names in the comments so you guys can see it. Winners, Stephanie Erickson, and then Cricket Tipton. So
Stephanie,
let's see.
There she is.
Is she here? Cool. Okay. So is
awesome.
Hopefully Cricket is there as well.
Cricket, give us a sign you're here.
I know. Scott Rowe says I'm here.
I'm sorry, Austin Wade.
I know. Womp womp. Jeff says great name. No kidding, right? We will see if Cricket is in it. Otherwise, we will do another drawing.
Come on, Cricket. Tell us you're here.
All right,
Gosh, you all are a really supportive bunch. Everyone's saying congratulations.
I know. All right, I'm going to do another...
It's from Cricket. Yep.
I might do another repick just to see.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Okay. Thomas J. Rizzi from the Bronx, New York. Let's see if you are in here. I'll put your name in the comments. Thomas J. Rizzi of the Bronx.
Congrats, Thomas.
I hear crickets. That's pretty good, Shayna. He is gone. Let's see if names are all different on YouTube.
Oh, well.
Okay, well, we got Stephanie, and we will make sure that hopefully Thomas or Cricket was above. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Okay, Cricket, give us a sign.
Cricket, give us a sign that you are the winner there. Otherwise, we will do another drawing and we'll reach out to you guys via email for that piece. But you guys are the winner of those shoes. If you guys are curious about the Karhu Koni shoes, definitely check it out by visiting Together We Move page on Fleet Feet. And also you can get a video and a little more description in the Run Experience app. Exciting workouts coming up, guys. Today we had a core strength and conditioning workout from a cyclist, professional Tour de France cyclist, Ted King. I was good old family friend of mine. I know he's not necessarily a runner with a capital R, but a really good dude. The challenges that tour cyclists had to deal with from a core strengthening conditioning standpoint is not that different from us runners, right? So he's got some really great stuff in there. Tomorrow, if any of you guys have read any Matt Fitzgerald's books and liked him, we finagled Matt to do a exclusive chapter read of his book that hasn't even come out yet. So it's really fun to have him in there. It's a cool audio workout that you can just listen to while you go running, and that is what you can expect tomorrow. So I'm excited for those things.
And then Sunday we have a fun workout just to mix things up, a mystery run that we'll be doing on Sunday. So if you are bored at home, this is a great workout to do for that. Also, next week, we have a special guest on YouTube, Magdalena Boulay, who is an incredible runner. She was not only on the 2008 U.S. Olympic marathon team, she also has a smoking fast 5K PR of 15:14, I think. And
crazy.
she's also won the Western States 100-mile endurance run. And so she's going to be on answering your questions about nutrition next Friday. And she'll also be sharing a workout with us next week sometime, so stay tuned for that and some exciting giveaways.
Exciting. So, Ashley, a pleasure as always. I think we're getting better at this.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think this is good. Guys, thank you all for tuning in and for listening, and we'll see you in those workouts, and we'll see you here next week, same time, same place.
Thank you so much. And again, if your question wasn't answered and you submitted it early, we will have those online on fleetfeet.com/togetherwemove.
All right.
See you all.
Peace.